Do you have anything to be prouder of this Heat season so far? 4 games, a disastrous start, than Nikola Jovic being suspended before he's played a minute in his career for the Miami Heat. Being suspended, what did Chris Cote call it yesterday? Kerfuffle. That I talked to the Heat. I badgered the Heat. One Heat representative said that that's just Jimmy being Jimmy on the rim job nickname. And another Heat representative denied altogether that what he had said was rim job.
That's ridiculous.
Denied it altogether. It's a cover-up.
Rim job. What's up, baby?
It's officially a cover-up.
That is as clear as day. It's clearer than Caleb Martin speaking.
Rim job. What's up, baby?
This year is the first year that they started back-to-backs with the Raptors, right? Back-to-backs at home. I thought last night when I tuned in, I'm not even kidding, I'm seeing the Raptor game and I see they're down after the first quarter, and I'm like, is this a replay? Is this a replay of yesterday's game?
That was happening with I thought both the Panthers and the Raptors were playing replays on the regional sports network. Yeah. So only one turned out to be true. Hey, Stugotz, what an entrance.
I mean, a 2-game homestand. How about that?
When did they start doing that? Though I guess that's when they started doing that, right? I was legitimately confused. I'm like, what a fun time for the Raptors to be able to come in. It's a smarter way to do it on the schedule. Why wouldn't you do it that way? Why make Toronto keep flying from Canada down to Florida if they could just do it a couple of times in a couple of nights?
How did the Heat split that then? That is such an embarrassing loss last night.
Or at least, like, if the split was going to happen, I feel like you'd lose Saturday night and win Monday. Allowing the opposition to stay in Miami on Saturday and Sunday night and lose to them on Monday night seems an impossibility. That's the coaching job of the year from Nick Nurse, to somehow get a performance out of that team after Saturday and Sunday night in Miami.
And on the other side of that, fire Spo.
I love how we treat coming to Miami. Like, I've been in Miami, kind of near Miami my whole life. I don't find it that difficult not to go out. Pretty easy for me.
Well, they're also you.
But I know, but it's just like, do you live in Miami? I mean, I guess
I know,
they're
but
younger.
I acknowledge that I'm me, and NBA players live a vastly different life than me.
You don't think there are any NBA players that are just like Witty?
No,
I don't.
I don't think anyone's like Witty.
The closest thing is Tim Duncan.
Yeah, good point. And even he has a wild side, the big fundamental. I mean,
Chris Cote, a lot of people are coming after you for casually mentioning yesterday that Sunday night against the Dolphins, you just strolled out of Dolphins and Steelers. You strolled out of the stadium early, like a typical Miami fan.
Well, it had nothing to do with being a Miami fan. I guess it was to beat traffic, so maybe it was to be a Miami fan.
Yeah, what do you mean?
It's all about beating traffic,
man. It really
man.
was not even about traffic. If I didn't have to, it was about work. Like, it was Sunday night. I have to be up at like 5:30 a.m. I was just thinking in my head, God, I'm gonna hate life sitting in traffic at midnight. So I was like, am I really good? I was just like doing
It's typical Miami fan, though. You don't actually stay till the end of the game.
Yeah. I mean, it's just maybe my old age. I just don't, I care more about beating traffic. All right.
Yeah,
I'm a Miami fan.
Yeah, you are.
Like, why are you denying
it's a Sunday night football game at home.
I know.
You don't get those that often.
Then I hear Mike the next day. He was out till like 3 a.m. last night.
Yep.
I was like,
I know.
How do you do that? I would be like,
I mean, Despacio's only in town every so often. Had to see Despacio. Just like the Dolphins are only hosting Sunday Night Football every so often.
And also, presumably, the other 64,000 people at that stadium have work the next morning.
I mean, I wasn't the only one leaving. But yeah, I'm not proud of it. It's just I am who I am. What do you want from me?
Okay.
Well, I said to myself yesterday, though, I'm like, never again. Like, take the next day off. Like, it's stupid what you did. Like, I was like driving home. I looked in the rearview mirror, and I was just like, dumb. What you did. You spent money on the tickets to leave early. It's like, decide one or the other. Either watch it, like, so I've learned my lesson.
Yeah,
right?
Take Monday off next time.
Or just don't go on a Sunday night. It just sounds cool. A night game. I love a night game.
Or
not that much.
I don't love it that much, apparently.
You love 3/4 of a night game. I mean,
you love the tailgate.
I didn't even honestly love it because I limited my drinking because I had to, like, it was a whole thing. I made a lot. I didn't even tailgate. I just went to dinner before. I didn't like me on Sunday. I was thinking about responsibilities. I stopped drinking. I didn't who am I? I looked at myself in the mirror then as well. Who are you?
You had some
Very confused.
You had some real introspection on the drive home, tired, sleepy. What you are is a lame
Then
dad.
I realized I should be looking at the road. Like, what am I doing now?
Lame dad Miami fan is what you are, and it's one of the many reasons that our fan base gets accused of not caring enough. Why? Because you didn't care enough. You got a Sunday night game and you're thinking about work, and you didn't get properly loud, properly drunk.
I feel like my perspective is the right perspective, right? Shouldn't I? Like, everybody else is being ridiculous. It's just sports. Doesn't matter that much.
That is correct, but you get very defensive when people say Miami fans don't care enough.
I think it happens everywhere. I think Miami fans' argument is, hey, people leave arenas early everywhere. Don't just come after us.
I enjoyed how you came back from vacation. Was like, man, Pittsburgh fans really care about the Steelers.
Steelers fans.
The Steelers fans are legit, and I figured like you would absorb some of their care for the Steelers and transmit that to the Dolphins, and not 3 days after arriving from Pittsburgh.
I did until 6 minutes left in the fourth, and I was just like looking at my watch and I'm just like, now's the time.
Was it because the game was boring? If that second half is entertaining, like if you hadn't seen Thomas Morstead 6 times in the second half.
If I had seen like this crazy offensive game, I would have said to myself, all right, I might miss something crazy here. I just did the math of like, am I gonna miss an epic ending? Maybe.
But it's a Sunday night game. Everyone in the nation is talking about your team. It's a great feeling. It is a Miami.
You know what else was a great feeling? Beating traffic.
That a boy. Yep. I hate a Sunday night game. Like, I don't like if my team's playing in the Sunday night game. I don't like the Monday night game. I like Sunday at 1 o'clock. That's what I like. I do occasionally 4:20. The Jets are never there. It's the game of the week usually. But I like Sunday at 1 o'clock. Like Dan Campbell. That's why I love Dan Campbell. He loves that all his games are Sunday at 1 o'clock.
For 20 years, the Browns played only Sunday 1 o'clock games.
Joe Madden's here.
You earned that.
Joe Madden just walked in.
Hey, Joe.
Greg Cote has walked in with a picture of his face on a shirt. He is nothing if not self-involved. I want, at LeBatardShow, I want to put on the poll, did Chris Cote properly articulate the indifference of Miami fans when he said, am I going to miss an epic ending? Maybe.
We do have a bad sports market. It's frustrating because there are people in this market that care deeply and take offense to that because they're out there. I mean, I'm going to be bothered when I go to that FSU game and all of a sudden it's a packed stadium. I'm going to be like, where were you when we were playing Southern Miss? Could have used your help. But we're an event town. And unfortunately, a lot of what they say about us is true.
But that was an event.
Right, exactly.
Sunday night football against the Steelers is an event.
But it was packed. Like Chris didn't run into traffic for a reason. That was a good crowd on Sunday.
A great
night.
crowd.
But you have a big crowd at Miami FSU?
Yeah, it'll be sold out.
Really?
I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. That's just a rager. There will be a good number of FSU fans there, but that's the one that the Miami fans turn out for every year.
That parking lot's always like it's carnage.
People go for the
It's
party.
carnage. It's a grave site afterwards.
Pisses me off.
You get so many people in our audience who get a great deal of personal identity, regional identity, civic pride from their sports teams in a way that is unreasonable. I don't apologize very often, Chris, for the idea that Miami fans care less than some other places in the country about how their uniforms do that weekend.
I'm trying to I would have been devastated if the Dolphins lost that game. Like, I don't think it has to do with how much. Like, I just didn't feel the need to see it. Like, I was going to care. I refuse to let this be,
Greg,
I don't care about the Dolphins' result.
Your son continues to make these arguments that your behavior, you keep wanting to tell me how much you care, and you keep looking in the mirror driving home saying you're a dumbass.
I care more than all you guys didn't go. I went.
Hello.
Like, so I care less than someone that didn't go at
That's
all.
That's not saying much.
Well, I'm just saying, though. You guys right now.
Now, you care more if you go to the game,
I will
Dan. There's an
concede.
effort you have to make just to get to the game. I
Well,
mean, you leave early, you
that's a
leave
great
early.
point.
I understand.
It's a great point. He did go to the game. I will
Right.
concede. You care more about the Dolphins than I do.
But also, not to betray any confidences, but we did have sponsor credit, courtesy of our Sunday night postgame show, that you may or may not have used to secure those tickets. So it's not like you dumped in your life savings into going to that game.
It was true. It was cheap for me.
While not working Sunday night either, because you were drinking beers.
You want to know why I went to the game?
Heady play.
I went to the game and stayed for the whole thing. How about that?
Attaboy.
You were paid to do so.
That's a technicality, but you're right. Officially, yeah. Stayed for the whole thing. Got home real late, drank a couple of beers, went to bed about 3, got up the next morning, did it again. That's me.
You went to the game? To the stadium?
You had beers till 3 in the morning?
What'd you do again? Yeah, right. That's every day.
I did it again. Got up and went to work. I'm a working man.
That's Miller time.
I got the working man blues.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Who were you talking to?
And where are you looking? You like looked up like you were.
I don't know.
He's right. No.
I'm settling in. I'm not here yet. I'm getting here.
All right.
Don't worry about me.
And this air thing has thrown everybody off. Yesterday it was like freaking Gatlinburg. We were talking about it. It was a winter storm. And today we're in the, Mojave.
Right.
Yesterday during the game, this is something we did not get to, and Stugotz has now put together a top 5 list of times he has been most scared watching sports. But something happened over the weekend that qualifies for Stugotz being scared while watching sports, and I'm curious whether many of you felt the same thing. I did come in here today and ask Mike Ryan to get one bit of sound before we get to the top 5 cringiest moments of Stugotz's watching sports, and it's just Stugotz's thoughts, and these are not the words that I remember initially when Stugotz called Bryce Harper simply bad at baseball. But this is Stugotz calling the ticket talkback line because he spent a good 6 months just railing against Bryce Harper.
Who is Bryce Harper? Baseball, big savior for baseball, really? Never had more than 59 RBIs in a single season. Hasn't played a full season yet. This year, he's played 24 games. He has a single home run with 10 RBIs, and he's complaining about the lineup. How about you stop worrying about the lineup and worrying about hitting a baseball? Go hit a home run. Go have more than 50 RBIs in a season. When you do that, you can start complaining about the lineup. Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper. Hey, I'm going to say baseball. I'm Bryce Harper. Please. You're a joke. You're an average ball player at best.
At the time, I was right.
Cut to Sunday, where the owner, John Middleton, goes up to him as the Phillies are celebrating their pennant on the field. Quote, "I think I've underpaid you." I said, I'm not sure you can underpay somebody when you give them $330 million, but I'm pretty sure I underpaid you.
One of those things you say in the moment. You're making it to the World Series. He knows he paid him. He probably overpaid him, to be quite honest with you.
MVP and they're headed to the World Series.
Just based on production, he's probably overpaid a little bit. And he was hurt again this year, too.
Win the World Series also.
Thank you.
Heat of the moment, NLCS, everybody says things. You know what I mean? You get swept by the Astros, they're going to be singing a different tune.
Mm-hmm.
Go hit a home run.
It's one of the best postseasons anyone's ever had.
Exactly.
Exactly what?
I
said it in his ear. I said finish it off in his ear. Yeah.
I also am just getting here. I mean, computer issues. It's very, very hot in here. It's like that Mojave Desert I think Billy was talking about earlier. It's really, really hot. I mean, do you feel it, Dan?
I mean, it's my rage bubbling up on both of you because you don't do your jobs correctly. But other than that, I'm fine.
Okay, good.
These are bad working conditions.
Yeah, working with you two?
Yeah, I should take my shirt off. That's how bad it is.
Please do.
No, please don't. God, nobody asked me for that.
I prefer the sight of what's beneath your shirt than the sight of what's on your shirt.
Oh, this is great. It's the floating, we call it the floating head shirt. You can get one on the merch store at thegregcodeshow.com. Just as a quick aside, I mean, you brought it up. I didn't.
He did ask.
Normally, I don't self-promote. Yeah, free shipping, by the way, this week through Thursday.
You should sell tanks for days like today, Dan.
Yes, right, tank tops. We should sell a tank top. Good idea, Billy.
Yeah.
Christopher, make a note of that.
Floating head tank top?
Yeah.
That a boy.
Right.
Get on it.
Right. I kind of think.
We do sell those.
We do? Oh, okay. I did not know that. That is wild.
top 5
That is weird, wild stuff.
moments when Stugotz has been most scared watching sports. Number 5.
The fight between Pedro Martinez and Don Zimmer. Thank you. I mean, I was terrified for Don Zimmer in that spot. Were you not?
Pedro grabbed, I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly, grabbed Don Zimmer with both hands by the head and threw him to the floor.
Yes.
I think that's the way that happened. And I don't know, weeble wobble is an old term, but I don't know what a Russian nesting doll is, sort of the shape of Don Zimmer, and he just took him, and his head seems kind of heavy, like anchorish, and so you throw Don Zimmer by the head, and he's going to plant like a javelin because his head looks heavy.
In retrospect, people went way too hard at Pedro for that. They were all blaming Pedro. What was Don Zimmer doing?
He charged
What was Zim doing? What is Pedro Martinez supposed to do in
You're
that
saying
spot?
it's Don's fault?
He got
It
off
was
easy,
Zim.
yeah.
It is Don's
No,
fault. It was.
He
What
got
if-
off easy.
You're in your 70s. You're charging Pedro Martinez. That was kind what Pedro did.
If you're Pedro, you got to be the matador there. You got to give it like one of these and
Well,
get out of the way.
essentially
like
did
an
that.
away, and then
He did.
yeah,
He
Weeble
fell on
Wobble
the
tripped
ground.
over. Yeah.
What are you talking about? He
Yeah,
took
he was
advantage of
getting
an old
charged
man.
at. He just pushed him to the ground. End of altercation.
I was terrified.
I mean, yeah, it's a 72-year-old man falling to the ground.
Yes.
That is terrifying.
Act your age.
problem, right
You know
there.
what I mean?
Yeah, but that's-
Act your age.
He effed around. He found out.
Horrible example for the children.
Yeah.
Didn't Tony La Russa scamper on the field today, this year, approaching 80 years old, and it wasn't much of a scamper because it was the run of a man who is close to 80 years old.
It's a different kind of run. You're right.
And I think to myself every time an old manager runs on the field like that, how old is La Russa? Because I think he's 78. I fear that somebody is going to grab them or be put in the position that Pedro was put in, which is Pedro's in a no-win position there. He's going to win the fight, but you throw an old person to the ground, and we're always going to be there for you saying, why did you have to throw that old person to the ground? As if you're not thinking to yourself as random people from the Yankee dugout come running at you, and you see them all behind Don Zimmer. You're just trying to get people out of the way, but you're not thinking clearly because there's a rabid Dom Zimmer in front of you.
Zimmer's 70-plus years old in a management position, and he finds it okay to just charge an opposing starting pitcher.
Also, hilarious to say to Pedro Martinez, hey, be prepared for that 72-year-old bench coach to run at you.
You're making him 72, and Don Zimmer was old the entire time I saw him, one of those rare people like Bill Snyder who's like that, but I thought he was older than 72.
At the time, this is 2003, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, he was 72 at the time. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, younger than I thought.
He looked like shit. I gotta say it.
For 72,
He looked bad for 72.
Yeah,
He looked bad.
But
Hard living.
I think that's Dan's point, though. He's looked 72 his entire life.
Or
Right.
did he look good in that spot? Because he actually got some forward momentum in his charge. I wouldn't have expected Don Zimmer to be able to run at Pedro Martinez like that.
I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but overall, just a terrible look for Zimmer, I thought. In retrospect, with the benefit of hindsight, treetop view on all of this. Bad look. Bad Zim. Bad.
Are you 100% positive Don Zimmer is no longer with us?
Yeah,
he's dead.
He's gone.
He passed in 2014.
Bye-bye. Really?
God rest
Wow.
his soul.
Yeah.
Number
Rest in power.
Number 4.
I always get nervous when he does that.
Same here.
Number 4.
Seeing Thomas Hill's face after Christian Laettner hit a game-winning shot in the NCAA tournament against Kentucky. Now, I know that sounds weird. It was a super great moment in sports history, but the face that Thomas Hill had in one of the great moments of his life was a look of terror. It was a look of horror. And I was watching that in Worcester, Massachusetts with the sound down on the TV. I was doing it before Dan. And I'm like, hey, something really bad must have happened here because no one makes that face when something good happens. You remember the face I'm talking about, right?
So you were confused. You didn't have the context of the moment. You were not watching one of the most epic endings of all time because, like Chris Cote, your philosophy was, am I going to miss an epic ending? Meh, maybe.
Yeah. But the face, look it up, kids. Thomas Hill's face after Laettner hits the shot.
You thought
it's a
something
weird face.
horrible had happened because you didn't have
like
any
you saw
of
a ghost.
the surrounding context.
What were you doing in Worcester, Massachusetts?
I went to college there.
Ah, okay. That's
Yes.
that's fairly near the birthplace of Greg Cote.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We were born about 20 miles from there.
Huh.
Yeah.
The 508.
Quick aside.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's important.
When'd you move down here, Greg? Maybe you guys cross swords up there or something.
It could be. I lived there from 1954 until about 1958. So I don't.
Cup of coffee.
Yeah, I don't think we crossed paths.
Right.
Beautiful area at the time. Less so now. What's number 3?
Joe Theismann getting his leg snapped by Lawrence Taylor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
Gruesome.
Yeah. Bad.
That's good hosting, Greg. Keep it up.
Thank you.
LT. Yeah.
All right. What's number 2?
Monica Seles getting stabbed in the back by a tennis fan.
Wow. Jesus. That's a good callback.
Terrifying.
I'd forgotten that. Yeah.
In retrospect, Thomas Hill, a really strange choice.
Dan, look at the face. I mean, it is a face of horror. It is.
Just
I mean,
a strange, just an indisputably ridiculous and strange choice.
But if you only saw the face, you would have thought the worst possible thing had happened to Thomas Hill and his family. Seriously, look at the face. You don't remember the face. I mean,
There was a college basketball player whose leg went through his skin during the NCAA tournament. Might have been an Elite 8 game.
right?
Yeah, Kevin Ware.
Yeah.
I remember I was also watching that on a muted television.
Are you saying that should be on the list over Thomas Hill's face?
Yeah.
Well, make a list. I mean,
Make your own list.
That's right. Check it twice.
Wow, Kevin Ware is actually still playing professional basketball. He's in the Iraqi Basketball League. That's an interesting life.
And the number one time that Stugotz has most cringed while watching a sporting event on television.
Tua's 7-yard scamper on Sunday nights. Terrifying, Dan. Everyone felt it. Everyone knew it. Listen, this guy is 2 weeks removed from his fingers being crossed. He's back in a game. He goes for a 7-yard scamper, and he launches himself head first because that's all these guys know. And I was terrified watching it, and so was the rest of the country.
He didn't really go head first. He tried to sort of juke and put a shoulder into somebody. It wasn't, and take advantage of that thing that he took advantage of last year when he got on angry runs. Everyone's expecting the quarterback to slide or duck or something.
Or do what Mac Jones did last night.
What was that? He's going to get fined, right? For going in that high with his cleats and hitting a bear in the package. He's going to get fined for that,
It's not
right?
the first time he's done some effery like that either. I've got an OLI for someone like Stugotz or someone like Chris Cote, fans of the AFC East, most terrified they've been watching sports. I'm going to say Bailey Zappi's 4th professional pass in that game last night. Because, oh my God, it looked like Bill Belichick got another one.
Billy, how did you feel watching Tua in the open field? For those who are just joining us and have no context, when Stugotz says crossed fingers in front of his face, he's talking about a player having seizure symptoms and during a game where his hands seemed frozen and gnarled, and I did not have the reaction that Stugotz had watching Tua in the open field. And if you have that reaction in this game, are you going to have it for the rest of his life playing football because you now think he's more fragile than everyone else out there? You feel like he's a kicker running around out there?
I guess, like I can't project out and say a year from now I'll still feel like that when Tua goes for a 7-yard run. But 2 weeks removed from what I saw that night, yeah, I was concerned for Tua.
You're not the only one. It happened.
I know.
It happened for.
I think Tyreek Hill said he was too.
It happened for a great many people, but I'm wondering once that's in your head somewhere,
it'll go away. It's like PTSD right now. You know, like if you fall off a bike, you're going to be afraid to ride a bike for a little bit. Eventually, you know, you ride your bike, you have some success, and then you're like, okay, I can do this again. Like, I think for a little bit when Tua's running like that and he's diving into people and he's getting drilled in the head again and he's like initiating contact, you're going to be worried that something may happen to him because we saw it 2 weeks in a row that things happened to him on plays that were less violent than that, by the way. Like, on both of the plays where he got hurt, where he hurt his quote-unquote back, and then the one where he got concussed, like, it was his head banging the turf that caused it. It wasn't, like, head-to-head contact. So when he's initiating helmet-to-helmet contact on things, you do worry that something's going to get rattled again.
I don't know if it's just because of the way that I've experienced watching him play. I'm not worried about him going forward. I'm worried about him being thrown backwards and hitting the back of his head. I'm not concerned about him going forward. I don't know what I'm doing there. It must be just that the way that I've seen him hurt is backpedaling, is when one of these guys who's 130 pounds larger than him grabs him by the waist and swings him the way I'm not used to seeing quarterbacks swung anymore.
I also think that going forward, you are going to be reminded of this because he's going to take big hits, like as virtue of being behind, particularly that offensive line as it continues to be injured. Quarterbacks are going, or defensive ends are going to hit him very hard. He doesn't take hits like other quarterbacks do, where he sort of goes falling with them, and it doesn't seem like it's that big of an impact. For whatever reason, the way that Tua gets hit, he gets hit very hard. So while thankfully nothing happened in this game, and Mike McDaniel made a concerted effort to get the ball out of his hands very quickly, I don't think we're done with this. I think he's going to get hit big at some point in the next month, in the next 2 months, and you're going to be, oh man, is that it again?
Well, that's why, though, when he goes running and is he initiating the contact, you're like, why are we doing this? Because, like, he refuses to throw the ball away and give up on plays, which is why he gets hit behind the line so much, because he just won't throw the ball away. And he also doesn't slide. So when he goes out and he's running, he's going head first. He's diving into players. He's trying to get extra yards. And it's like, you know that you have this history of injury. You know you're going to get drilled in the back. Don't put yourself out there and get hit more than you have to.
And to jump on what both of you are saying, the player comparisons of guys that got blown up at that position that just never quite learned, Robert Griffin III and Carson Wentz, they both continued to go in, charging in, seeking out contact, and forever changed their careers.
The other thing, too, is you can't play scared in that sport. No, we've seen people play scared in that sport and get hurt. That's the number one thing. If you play scared in football, you will get hurt. So if Tua's running in, he's confident in his own ability to say, okay, I'm good. I'm going to go initiate contact because I'm a football player.
Yeah, but you can get hurt being fearless the way that he was.
You can get hurt doing anything in football.
Yeah. I mean, I think the good thing, if you are like a Tua fan, if you want to see the positive in this, is he's not trigger shy. Like, he's going to keep going. He's not letting what happened to him change the way he's playing at all. But it also could give you concern of, are we putting ourselves at unnecessary risk here? But he hasn't changed his aggressiveness. If anything, he's even more aggressive this game. And I believe that he said after the game, like, he needed that.
He said he needed it.
He wanted that, he needed
He
it.
said, sorry, coach, I needed that.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Tua is not a Lamar Jackson or even a Russell Wilson where mobility is such a huge part of his game. Why? Why does he need to do that? Why can't he play smart? It's not about being fearful. It's about protecting your career. He's decent from the pocket. He's got a good arm. He can have a long career. He doesn't. You don't draft Tua thinking, oh, I got this dual threat that can bowl people over. It's not like Josh Allen where it's such a huge physical part of his game. The fact that he's so big and can take down a corner, you don't need that.
But even still, I don't like when Josh Allen does it. Even considering he's 6'5", 230 pounds, if he lowers his shoulder and breaks his collarbone, then the Bills' season is over. Like, if I were the Bills coach, I would not want Josh Allen running like that. I would want him to slide. Because ultimately, him being healthy is way more important than any amount of yardage in a Week 4 game against Jacksonville. It just is.
But you start thinking out there and you get hurt. I mean, you do.
You're right.
Yes. I mean, and that's a big part of his game. I love that about Josh Allen's game right up until he gets hurt.
Josh Allen obviously is the best quarterback in the division, but the Bills are atop the division because all the other teams have had in and out at quarterback. He's the only one in the division who's been there all the time. But you say, Mike, he doesn't need to do that. And I'd argue that when you've been on the hot seat for your job the entire time you've been in the league, and the winning is in the margins, and you're playing for a contract, and you need a little more time because your offensive line isn't that good. Tua's mobility in the age of quarterbacks are changing. Matt Ryan's gone. His career is done. They need somebody more mobile back there. He's taken more sacks than anybody in the league. He's turned the ball over more than anybody in the league. His career's over because he can't move. He's slow. And the position is changing. And they'll go with the guy who can move more. It's not a huge part of his game, but I don't think you could just make him a pocket passer either out of fear for the game is violent.
I agree with you. And part of it is Tua's a team captain for the first time in his young career. He had missed 3 games in a row. What he did on that run, not sliding and going shoulder first, that reads like leadership in the locker room. I don't care what anybody else says. I don't care. It's beyond the fact that the fans loved it. That reads like leadership in the locker room.
I don't know that the fans loved it. I think a lot of fans experienced it the way that
they like the
Stugotz
result.
did.
No,
I was afraid, but I loved it.
Yeah, there was a.
I loved it.
There was an audible
After
cheer.
you realized he wasn't hurt, though, right?
Yeah. I was like,
of course,
why are we doing that? I love that. Oh, that's my guy. How do I get another jersey?
But my dad is right. In that crazy world, in that locker room, like the team might need to see that from him to like know that he's back.
The team also needs to see him in the locker room, though. He's got to be available to them. We saw what this team looks like with a backup.
If Tua is in a spot where he's going to play the rest of the season but can't go do that play, then
Dude,
he should.
I hard disagree. That was a scenario where he could have gone down. He did not need to do that. Like, he's got to be smarter.
I also don't even think he gained a first down as a result of it. It was like resulted in second and two.
There's a time and place where you're caught up and you're like, okay, well, this contact's happening anyways. I might as well try to deliver a blow on the other guy, and that's the best way to protect. He didn't need to do that.
You guys have this sport being a lot slower than it actually is. Like, he has all this time to be like, wait, what should I do here?
The quarterback
Coach, should I dive here? Should I?
The rules are designed for the
game.
But the rules are designed for the quarterback to be able to do that.
You slide, you lose like 5 yards though.
No,
They always
Chris,
mark those things so far back.
I understand what you're saying. You would think, though, with 2 weeks to think about this and what happened to him, he would say to himself, hey, I'm going to slide. Like, I don't care. It's not that important. The extra yard is not that important. You would think. And he didn't do it.
Sorry, you got time to brace and try to deliver a blow to somebody else. You've got time to fall down on the ground. You're overthinking this.
It's human nature. He missed 3 games because of a terrible concussion. Everybody in the country thinks he's fragile. He's injury prone. That was one play where he said to the country, I'm not afraid. I'm not playing as if I'm fragile. This is me. I'm a physical player. I'm going to run the ball.
I've got to be honest. I thought that he was trying to juke that guy, and he just caught him clean, that the linebacker just caught him clean. I thought he saw the goal line, that it wasn't first down he was going for. I don't want Tua running around the goal line. How's that? As just a universal rule. Goal line seems really dangerous.
I don't like that rule.
I was in Shark Valley this weekend. There were a lot of alligators there. The goal line seems like that. I don't want my quarterback going those 2 yards. Don't need it.
What were you doing in Shark Valley? Why were you all the way over there? Like,
Dan,
that's
you
so
went all
far
the way to
west.
8th Street?
Are you biking Shark
Are
Valley?
you kidding me?
Oh, it's so
I
hot.
thought you
Don't
could
do
cross
that.
the Rickenbacker.
It was lovely. It was a
a nice
lovely
weekend.
morning.
Did
yes.
you make it to the whatever
the tower?
yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Wow.
It's far.
Look at you.
That is far.
It's far. It's really
That's
far.
a long
Dan,
bike.
you made it the whole way and back?
It's just gators
Well, he's
everywhere.
here.
Alligators everywhere. You guys think I every time I see a team on the goal line in any situation, all I'm feeling is this is dumb. There are 11 minutes of action in this game. They're going to spend 3 downs down here trying to cave each other in. They might as well just onside kick the ball at each other for stupid events that are meant to grab a yard on the goal line. It seems like a deeply unhealthy place.
I want someone to run the numbers because it seems like it's so much more difficult now to score at the goal line. It's why I love watching Kansas City, specifically their goal line play designs. They find a way to make it look easy to score inside the red zone, and it's not. When you have less space to work with, when all these offenses now are built to spread you out and the space just gets condensed, for Kansas City and Andy Reid to be operating and maximize the space that they have available to them is really impressive.
So this is just an area. I've never been to this area. You just like bike around like hundreds of alligators.
Yes.
They're all on the sidewalk. They won't do anything to you.
But it's called Shark Valley.
They've never had
Weird, yeah.
They've never had
Alligator
an
alley.
alligator
Yeah.
attack. That's a different place. You guys are of the belief, because the goal line, you guys aren't watching this the way that I'm watching this. When anybody's at the 1 yard line and it's taking 3 plays to get in, you're like, this is stupid. It's taking so much football action to just try and now,
get an inch.
And now a lot of these teams have taken again to just pushing the quarterback from behind. This is happening throughout college football as well. Mike was mentioning Kansas City, though. It's not just that they're better than anyone in the sport statistically in the red zone. It's also a couple of times during that game, and only them and Buffalo can do this. There's no third here. Not Lamar Jackson, even though he did it once on Sunday. Kansas City's got 3rd and 20, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And everyone else is in 3rd and 20, and you're like, they're gonna bubble screen, they're gonna draw play. They're not even interested in getting it. They know they're not. They're gonna do something safe in the flat. And Kansas City I've told you this for years now. The quarterbacks in that sport that make me crazy if I'm playing against them are the ones that terrify me on 3rd and long, that I feel like I've succeeded for 2 plays and I know it's not good enough. Like, I've had 2 very positive plays on 1st down and 2nd down for my defense, and it doesn't matter. I'm still scared. There are 2 teams in the league, right? There's no third.
I think Joe Burrow, I have that same feeling with Burrow, where 3rd and long doesn't really matter. It just doesn't.
I don't trust his offensive line. It's not him. I don't trust his obviously his receivers are great, but I'm not afraid of Cincinnati in 3rd and 20. I'm still afraid of Kansas City somehow on 3rd and 20.
I'd be afraid of Cincinnati on long distances.
And Buffalo, I would put in that category.
Yeah, it's just that Cincinnati's weapons are just so explosive
They
on
are.
the outside.
Yeah.
It's
Imagine
ridiculous.
losing Tyreek Hill and really not missing him at all. That's how good their offense is. It's crazy.
That's what's happened indisputably, right?
Yeah.
They don't miss Tyreek Hill. Can it be said flatly?
I would also still put Tampa Bay in that class. I know that they're off 2 losses, but I know
Attaboy.
I know on 3rd and 20,
I like
we're not
what
going to
you're
do one of
doing.
these stupid plays where it's short of the goal, short of the 1st down marker. Even that Jags game, it's just why are we designing all these plays that are short of the line that you need to get to? I don't understand it. You're counting on Yak when you need a touchdown to win, and they've got 4 safeties on the line to prevent you. You're but a man. It's so stupid.
Do you actually believe in Tyreek Hill not mattering to the Chiefs? Because it felt like whenever they lose, that immediately becomes the talking point. And I thought it was the talking point after the Bills game, where they lose at home to the Buffalo Bills.
That's going to be the story.
Well,
Yes.
I mean, they did. They lost to the Bills, and I thought after the game, it's like, oh, their offense didn't look quite as explosive without Tyreek Hill. They beat the hell out of the injured 49ers. They can beat the hell out of other teams, but I don't know if in the biggest games, they're quite there yet.
I've got an interesting take. I think the subtraction of Tyreek Hill in the Kansas City offense has actually given Mahomes an ability to take a step that he didn't have because of the fact that it opens the offense up more when Tyreek Hill's not there. It's the
You
fact
don't
that
have
he
that
can,
exit valve. You
right,
don't have
he
that.
could
It's
throw,
almost
he
a
could
cheat
throw
code.
to the middle. He's got guys on the outside. Like that one play that Juju caught and ran for a 40-yard touchdown, there was just nobody there.
Hardest of disagrees.
That's fine. You've been
Hardest
disagreeing
of
all day, Mike.
disagrees. The Kansas City offense was better with Tyreek Hill out there. Hardman finally
I said
came
open.
online. They've been missing Hardman
I
on
didn't say
all
better,
those
though, Mike.
deep plays. It was such a huge part. Now, granted, where it might actually end up winning a championship for them because they were so flatly stupid in the AFC Championship because they get greedy. Mahomes is learning this year to do a better job.
I think that's what Tony said.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
though.
I
It
understand.
opens up the
Mahomes is
offense for
progressing.
Mahomes.
Yeah, but the thing is, he could have done that with Tyreek Hill. It was just
But he
all
can't.
self-discipline. He just couldn't. He couldn't fight the catnip
The
that was there.
80-yard bomb was always there.
Well,
right?
I think that's what's ultimately going to undo the Cincinnati Bengals too. It's because they go for that, and if they're not playing against a cover 2 defense, it's usually there, and they get rewarded by it. Their offensive line, to Dan's point, does need to come online because the only way that they're going to win games where it's a matchup problem for Joe Burrow, and he won't have their explosiveness because they're entirely predicated on just huge chunk plays.
Yeah.
Last year, it was almost a fluke. The regression was coming because they turned so many losses into wins because guys were just unicorns out there. Their running game is just Joe Mixon running into the center of the line. There is no creativity when it comes to those run design. I think it might be because of the personnel. That offensive line, I really hope it doesn't undo what's one of the more fun watches in the NFL.
My larger point is that Mahomes is not missing Tyreek Hill like Aaron Rodgers is missing Devontae Adams. He's got too many other
That's fair.
moving. He's got the best tight end in football by far. He's just got too much else
He's got
going
Andy
on.
Reid, honestly.
I mean, they're on pace to score as many points this year as they did last year.
But I
They
think
are.
Andy Reid is as much to give credit for this offense just not missing a beat. Like Andy Reid's offenses are just amazing. Like that should be the starting point.
You said it's Andy Reid, and I feel like you could put him in his outfit where you put Pacheco, and you'd still get 40 points.
That'd be hilarious.
That they could that they could put anybody at running back, anybody who's been a running back, they could put him at running back, and everything that's happening past the line of scrimmage is so scary because there are so many plays in that sport where I am watching a safety or a defensive back try and climb up to where Travis Kelce is. He's covered. Travis Kelce runs down the field and turns around, and he's never covered because he's too big. They can't. The people back in that secondary are not big enough. I'm seeing this with Mark Andrews. All over the league, you're seeing it in the seam where they throw to a tight end at the goal line, and you're seeing a very frustrated, smaller person trying to climb a skyscraper, like on the side of a building.
But Andy Reid is hugely important to them. It's a great marriage between coach and quarterback, and we saw up until it took the Bears several games this season and a first half to realize, look, man, let's just do what we have with this player. Andy Reid, for a large chunk of his career, and he had great success running the West Coast offense, but he has an alien like Patrick Mahomes, and he starts designing all these creative plays to maximize the talent. Yes, the talent is the biggest part of the equation, but being able to supplement that skill set the way that the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson, the self-awareness and know what you have is huge. It's great when it's Patrick Mahomes.
You mentioned yesterday, Stugotz, and we went through the numbers that what's happening in Tampa, statistically, if you're measuring the quarterback is still a top 10 quarterback. But this play that I'm talking about that was a bit of a fountain of youth with Gronk, the best we've ever seen at it. Now that Cameron Brate's out, they traded O.J. Howard. Like, wouldn't that be a place where someone gets a little bit worse statistically because
he's lost those
because
guys?
You don't have the safety valve of the sure thing over the seam. They had 3 tight ends that were all the same kind of guy, and now he doesn't have any of them.
He has none of them. Yeah, I think, well, Gronk could always come back, so, there's hope there, and maybe he will. I don't know if Tom has reached out to him.
Is that call being made? Is that call being made
I'm certain
right
that
now?
call has been made already. You hear guys, not just Brady on the Bucs team, saying they miss Gronk. Like what he brings to the table, not just from a on-the-field perspective, but just keeping things loose in the locker room and stuff like that. They miss Gronk.
They don't need his 69 jokes, the guys. They need him.
Brady seems a little down right now.
They need him 110 yards from him a game and 11 targets. Not him trying to motorboat people.
What a great spot for Gronk, though. If he comes back and everything's fixed, like Gronk will get all the credit. There's no downside for Gronk here. None.
Other
Zero.
Than the physical
this is
pain.
the lowest Brady has ever been in his career right now. Okay? And Gronk can come back and save the day. And I think he will.
Then the physical pain, which is why he retired.
Yeah. And we're talking 7 games, right? I mean, Gronk could still do it, don't you think?
It's 9 games plus the playoffs.
Right. So that's
10 games plus the playoffs.
All right. So maybe, 12 games or so. But Gronk could still do that, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Doesn't need any practice. Come on.
You give him a little window here. He comes back in like 4 weeks. He says, I'm going to be back, and in 4 weeks he's ready. You cut 4 weeks off of that right there. When's their bye? Did their bye happen already? Throw in the bye week. You know what I mean? Like, give him. I say 6 weeks. We're 6 weeks away from Gronk.
Well, you guys are the podcast in America that is closest to the Gronkowskis.
They don't tell us anything.
God Bless Football is an epicenter for Gronkowski's meathead bachelor party friends. Nowhere are they covered and talked to in more length and depth than on God Bless Football. Do you guys have any information on this, or are you guessing like Greg Cote?
Well, every time we kind of ask the question, Chris pretends to not understand what we're talking about, or in fact doesn't understand what we're talking about. But we're doing some reporting. We're gonna have an informed source on. It was supposed to be this week, but we're having a witch on instead. So next week we're gonna have an informed source on, where we're gonna kind of get to the bottom of what's going on.
An annual tradition, unlike any other.
Yes. Yep.
I saw that Carl Douglas was on God Bless Football recently, and it just made me think, how quickly did Stugotz try to rifle through his contact list to get to the famous people?
Didn't take long.
No.
Yeah.
We're in talks to get the vice president on, because he says he's friends with her. So see if we can get the vice president on in the next couple weeks to make some picks.
And Queen Latifah.
Yeah. And Jamie Foxx.
Oh, my God.
And then there's OJ, but we're still kind of trying to figure out how we're going to navigate that one.
We wanted to ask you. I mean, technically you are our boss. So how do you feel about OJ coming on the Dan LeBatard Network? I mean,
it's not my responsibility what happens over at God Bless Football.
Okay.
I mean,
it's your responsibility.
He wasn't convicted, right?
Please don't.
Really?
Yeah,
Really? What do you mean, really?
I mean, juice.
I feel strongly about O.J. Simpson, but I still will watch every single one of his Twitter videos.
He paid his debt to society for the
this is-
autograph
Please
thing.
don't carve out this real estate.
You mentioned the Vice President of the United States. President Obama was on the Manning cast last night with Bill Burr and Vince Vaughn. It's a hell of a guest list, man.
That's very cool.
How was it?
They got Burr.
Did anyone see it? Did any of you tune in to where it is that it was happening?
No. They could have bigger guess than that for me to tune in.
I like Buck and Aikman, but
Obama.
Who's a bigger guess? Nellie Doogie?
If she's on a show, I'll watch it because she's been dead for 50 years, about 55 years.
I watched Obama, and then Bill Burr. There was like audio. They were like talking over each other, and it was classic Manning cast. But the Obama segment was flawlessly executed. And for me, the thing that was most incredible was it's towards the end of the first quarter, and they're doing the thing where Obama has clearly come on to plug, a website that is encouraging people to get out and vote in the midterm elections, and he's doing the whole, we're better when we're together, and we want everyone to participate in our democracy, and there's big issues on the table, and he's doing, a 2 to 3 minute monologue, which Obama can get, he can go for a while, and I see the clock on the bottom of the screen ticking down at 18 seconds left, so I'm like, oh no. They not only have to end Obama and get to a commercial break and plug iwillvote.com in about 28 seconds. And I'm waiting for the car crash of him not being done by the time we get to the end of the first quarter. And he wrapped up with like 4 seconds to go. Peyton and Eli go, "Thank you so much, Mr. President. iwillvote.com. This was great." He goes, "Thanks, guys. This is great." And they go to commercial. And I was floored at how well they seamlessly went
getting
to
better
break.
at it.
Oh my God.
You guys are so critical. They won an Emmy. Like, enough. How many Emmys do you guys have? 0. So stop criticizing the Mannings.
Okay.
There still is nothing better than the panic of Peyton when just something's not going well. If someone talked over something, it's just he starts like rubbing his forehead. I love it.
Billy, can you look up how many Emmys O.J. Simpson won?
We can just ask him in a couple weeks.
Rage Against Twitter on Twitter made that song a Bo Burnham ripoff. Have you watched Inside by Bo Burnham? Do you have any idea what that was an homage to?
No, I thought it was just an homage to Greg's Lobos, which was plenty for me.
Which is all that matters to you.
It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. Thank you.
It is one of the best creative things made during the pandemic. That was a ripoff of just someone celebrating. Congratulations, Jeff Bezos, you did it.
It wasn't a ripoff. It was an homage, which is French for ripoff.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read some things that came in, Stugotz, because we're very early in this Lakers season. We have already talked way too much about this Lakers season, but right at the center of it, you have something that you do not get very often in a sport that is always soaked and surrounded in storylines. Regarding Paul George and Charles Barkley saying that the Lakers have stolen the joy of Russell Westbrook, not just of playing basketball, but the joy in his life. We talked yesterday about how unpleasant it must be right now to be Russell Westbrook, where Portland's saying, go ahead and shoot, please shoot, we're begging you to shoot, and he's got no reason after going 0 for 11 and feeling solid a couple of days ago to feel good about the way that he's playing. But inevitably, when we talk about Russell Westbrook, this is what happens. Russ isn't a joy to be with. Let me know who he has played with that's happy. All he brings is misery. When you get paid like that and you perform that poorly, that's what you get.
He's that guy.
What a bleeping take, Dan. Zero sympathy for that clown.
He's that guy.
I can think of 44.21 million things he's enjoying.
He's that guy.
Zero sympathy for that clown. So there's a sympathy cap in fandom, right? Like a salary cap. There's just
$44.2 million. Yes.
Also, I kind of feel like Paul George had a hand in what's going on with Russell Westbrook after, air quotes, committing to OKC long term just to get that maximized dollar and then force his way to Los Angeles.
It's also 47.1 million reasons now.
Kevin Durant and Paul George support Russell Westbrook for what it's worth. It's I think it's a growing disconnect between athletes and fans. Do you think that I have that wrong? Is it a growing disconnect?
I don't care what Kevin Durant says about Russell Westbrook. One of the reasons Westbrook has arrived where he's arrived is because of Kevin Durant. So I don't care about it now.
Paul George and Kevin Durant should publicly have Westbrook's back because Westbrook was the fall guy for their shortcomings with that organization in OKC, the greatest meat shield of all time. Raise the banner.
I am more interested in having the conversation as it regards those three guys, the mental health conversation, and the growing disconnect between fans and players. You've heard me say for a long time that money's the disconnect. Well, never more so than now. They're making a ton, and we're in a real shitty economy where the haves and have-nots are really getting separated. So if it's getting worse in this country, isn't it going to be something that exists in sports as well, where zero sympathy? No, zero sympathy. I don't have sympathy. You're suffering? Don't care. You're making a lot of money. Period. You're a clown.
I think people say, hey, I'm suffering also, and I'm not making $47 million a year, and I don't get to play a sport for a living, and I don't get to hang out with LeBron James and Anthony Davis and play on the Lakers and live in L.A. I don't get to do those things.
All you said is basically that Westbrook's life is a lot better than the I who doesn't get to do those things, right? That what it is,
yes.
all you're articulating is an entitlement to the hate there of a sports fan, the entitlement of a customer to hate. I don't get to do these things. Your life is so much better than mine. Suffer.
Right.
I think what you're hearing is, hey, I think there are always going to be fans like that, Dan. Hey, I don't care. You're making $47 million. But when you compare his problems and what he's going through to most of the fans watching the NBA, they're like, hey, your problem's not nearly as big as my problems. And that factors into some of the reaction. Oh, you're not playing well? Oh, you have to go to the bench? Oh, boo-hoo. You're making $47 million a year. I'm struggling to make ends meet. So, yeah, I think that's where some of that reaction comes from.
I just can't imagine what it would feel like to sort of be national embarrassment number one when national storyline number one. For me, the Los Angeles Lakers starting 0-3, Russell Westbrook being the $47 million anchor on their ability to win and having that exposed night after night after night. I just can't imagine that. I know you're making a ton of money. I know you're living in Los Angeles. That is such a shame. When I think of the NBA now, the first thing I think of is, when is Russell Westbrook finally going to get traded from there? When is that thing finally going to get resolved? He takes up the oxygen of the entire sport with how bad he's playing.
There is a great video online of fans yelling at Russell Westbrook, "You suck ass." This was from 2 days ago after he did that against Portland. And Russell Westbrook turning up to the fan saying, "What'd you say?" And the fan just immediately going, "Come on, baby, we need you."
Well, he stopped saying it as soon as he comes back out because Russ disappears. He's like, "You suck ass," and then he reemerges like, "What? Say that again?" And the guy's just like, "What?
We need you, man. Come on, shake it off, shake it off, shake it off.
He was trying to clarify what his initial comments were. I mean, that's all. When he says "you suck ass," he's saying, "Hey, we need you."
But that is just a small example of like, you would think Russ could be able to just like let it go, but it's just like this is obviously eating at him that he is like just reacting to these little things.
But things, even when things have gone well during his career, Russell Westbrook's always kind of projected that towards the media and the fans. He's always carried himself pretty consistently when things are going well for him and when things are going bad. He's the kind of guy that will send out a video before the season celebrating, very happy with his contract and the fact that he opted in. I know that there is certainly a mental health discussion to be had here on the macro level, citing him as an example. I understand how someone could be struggling through this, but I also know from what's happening in the public, he seems to be the same guy he's always been, and the fact of the matter is, he's a bad basketball player right now. It's just not going well.
And he's also 33 years old, so for the first time in his career, he's looking at, is he over the hill? Is he a has-been? You know, he's getting to that point in his career.
You have a couple of things here. One, it's somebody who very recently was MVP of the league and averaged a triple-double and was viewed as a hero because back then we were going at Durant all the time for leaving him and betraying him, and he did the right thing, and he stayed behind and has bought him nothing now. But when you say, Chris Cote, small things, Why is he reacting to small things?
You suck ass? I mean, come on.
No.
If he doesn't say ass there.
I'm not objecting.
I get that in my mentions every day. Anytime I try to defend Mario Cristobal.
Let me get to my point, please. Do you think Russell Westbrook thinks disrespect is a small thing? You might think it's a small thing, but do you think Russell Westbrook thinks that, just the way he carries himself, do you think that he thinks disrespect is a small thing?
No. Do you think I think disrespect is a small thing? It goes with the territory. Do you think the Lakers fan that just witnessed Russell Westbrook go 0 for 11 thinks that's a small thing? I understand where this comes from, and some of that's the price of doing business. You say it bought him nothing. I say it bought him this amazing career, a Hall of Fame career, this fat contract that's an albatross on the Lakers on the Lakers salary cap numbers right now.
I meant bought him nothing with fan bases once we now head into the area where this disconnect resides. And the only reason I brought up mental health is because I'm asking you to examine the three people I'm talking about here. Russell Westbrook and the two who are defending him, Paul George and Kevin Durant. How does their relationship with fans seem to you?
Terrible, but also it would have bought him something with Oklahoma City if he didn't try to leave and say that he was unhappy. And I understand you got to do what's right for you and what's your family and your family. And Oklahoma City was going in the other direction, but we're seeing the same thing happen with Russell Wilson right now in Denver. They're booing the hell out of him. They don't like him. He doesn't have any history with that team. Would this happen in Seattle if Russell Wilson were struggling? Maybe to some, but he would have had capital bought up with them. To Denver Broncos fan, Russell Wilson's nothing but the quarterback that beat him in a Super Bowl right now and is washed at age 33.
My point is, and you're right about everything you're saying, that because we're in this business, we feel entitled to the emotional cruelty because, hey, you're paid for it. It's part of your job. You must accept my disrespect as part of your contract. You must accept my laughter. And I'm saying prideful people, and I am not supporting, like, you are all correct in saying the professional thing is for all of these people to eat it. But as the disconnect grows, they're going to eat it less and less. And you tell him that he sucks ass when he's at the bottom of his personal pride, feeling disrespected. He's going to take the consequences of what come with that, because I can't imagine what he's feeling as a prideful person right now, that the country's laughing at this dude. His identity has been, I'm great at basketball all my life. He was coming home. This was a hero returning home. He's always wanted to play in Los Angeles. The money isn't soothing him any. Now, it will soothe all of us. You think. It's not soothing him.
When your physical skills start to deteriorate, though, and you want to continue having a long career, like, say, Vince Carter did. Vince Carter wasn't saying things out in the media like, yeah, my hammies got sore because coach decided to put me on the bench right now and I'm not suited for that. You got to do what you can professionally to help your team.
Change your game.
Change your game. We've seen guys that were elevated into NBA All-Stars find nice long careers, finding roles. Russell Westbrook doesn't appear to be about that right now.
Humility?
No, it's not.
But it is humility.
But there is a self-awareness
and humility, though. But man, you tell me, if all your life you'd overcome odds to get the top of whatever that fucking furnace is, wouldn't you always think you're going to overcome odds? Like, if we got coming from where he came from, that he's not coming back to Laker LA. He's coming back to where his home was at UCLA, that part of Los Angeles, what he came from to get to MVP and averages a triple-double. That dude's not built like the rest of us, and I don't say this in support of him. I'm just saying that it would suck. I'm trying to tell anybody listening to this that no matter who you are, Russell Westbrook may indeed be going on his computer and checking what his finances are doing as a way of healing. He may indeed be doing that. Would do. But if you have personal pride at all, it must suck to be laughed at by your sport, by your country, by your teammates, by the defense. It just must suck.
Yeah, but to Mike's point, change your game. If you don't want to be laughed at anymore, what the fan is saying is right. They need him. They desperately need Russ to be good. And right now he's bad. But change your game a bit.
I know.
Like Brooke Lopez did it. Others have done it to prolong their career.
Stugotz, how much is your game changing right now?
It's not changing at all. I should probably work on it.
I no, but I'm saying like at some point you get so rewarded for the way that you have been.
He seems to be doing all right.
Yeah. I mean, I make God bless football. I mean, you know, I'm trying to evolve. I'm trying to, you know, further my career. I'm trying to pitch in where I can, do what I can. I'm changing my game a bit. I mean, that's what I do. Give me another max contract if you want the old Stugotz back. I mean,
how much has your game changed, Cote?
Oh, a lot.
It's very easy to tell someone else to put down their pride. That's a pretty easy thing to do. I would think that the rest of you, when you're yelling, hey, you suck ass at Russell Westbrook, would know that he's not one of the people who it would be easy to put down his pride. I would think that would be self-evident by everything you've seen from him.
But I think Russ, at the height of his confidence and at the height of his game, would still have the same reaction to that. Like, he just hisses at fans. It's what he does.
I'm guessing that Russell Westbrook thinks that if you put him on the Sacramento Kings right now, he'd be averaging a triple-double again.
Greg Cote was a young star with the Miami Herald, and then Dan LeBatard comes in, and how did he react to that? He didn't treat you poorly. He was a good teammate. He said, you know what? This guy's going places. I'm going to be a good teammate to him.
He was always calling editors wondering why I was running on the front page.
Not always.
Mike, I've got a stat for you, and it speaks to the entire room here because Greg Cote and Stugotz, this is their kind of stat. Billy's too, actually. Actually, there's no one in here who this isn't a stat for. It's big-time throws. It's just the Pro Football Focus advanced stat of big-time throws.
Love that.
P.J. Walker made 6 of them on Sunday. That is more than Daniel Jones this season, Ryan Tannehill this season, Tua this season, Matt Ryan all season, Mariota, Davis Mills. In one game, he produced more big-time throws. The one in the back of the end zone for the second touchdown was nuts. And, Mike, you have wanted P.J. Walker to keep getting chances.
It took 9 quarterbacks getting hurt.
From the XFL.
Always knew the kid had it in him. Last week, he was about as bad as it could get for a quarterback. It was uninspired. It was all short game. There were no big-time throws to be seen. It is a puzzling 180 what happened in Carolina. I guess that team really hated Matt Rule because it was cool to see. It was super. I thought that they were, after they traded McCaffrey, you have every reason to see the writing on the wall, know what the strategy is from the front office, and just kind of go through the motions. To see Carolina put up that inspired of a performance against Tom Brady, to be the best quarterback on the field, coming from Temple through the XFL, to beat Tom Brady in that way where you're making the big-time throws and he's sailing them after that throw that Mike Evans dropped, is a pretty cool feeling.
It's a pretty big drop, Mike Evans.
It was. It changes the complexion of the game,
Yes.
but it doesn't take away from the fact that P.J. Walker, for one Sunday, will always have that moment. P.J. Walker is going to be a generational story.
Those 6 moments.
At the
Tom
Walker,
Brady, yes.
at Walker Christmas time, anytime they have a Thanksgiving dinner, he will regale generations of Walkers.
Papa made 6 big-time throws.
And it was a week that we traded Robbie Anderson
Yes.
and Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
These players were helpful. It was just me and DJ Moore slinging it.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Will Grandpapa P.J. Walker be telling the grandkids about that day against Brady 90 years from now?
How great is it?
Every time he sees his grandkids, yes.
And
that's
Green
what it's
Lizard on the other end, beating Aaron Rodgers.
I love that
Heineke
guy.
wasn't even a starter in the XFL. He was a backup in St. Louis. To be able to do that against a reigning MVP, outplayed him. It's just so great. Man, I love the XFL. I love the XFL. You saw they just signed an agreement with the National Indoor Football League. So, like, they got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I told you yesterday, if he puts his mind to something, he usually achieves success. Would not surprise me at all if the XFL is a smashing success. Remember where we were before the pandemic. I know it's hard for a lot of you, but the XFL was putting major ratings on. They were outrating NBA games on network television. People love football. People love the XFL. I, for one, can't wait.
Why are you pointing at me?
I just realized I'm wearing an XFL hat today, and this is a huge propaganda piece, and it's potentially a second career for me.
Yeah.
Propagandist for the XFL.
Like it.
A lot of people were sending us yesterday an update on New York Giant Daniel Bellinger because, and we have made fun of this before, we have made fun of the movie Any Given Sunday, filmed right along this street where we are, because in that movie, Oliver Stone decided that the most accurate reenactment of professional football would be for, at one point, there to be an eyeball on the field. A human eyeball was on the field. In Sunday's game, Daniel Bellinger went off on a cart after being eye gouged. There was blood all over the front of his uniform. He went off on a cart after, it seemed to me, it's not benign obviously, but a hand had gone into his helmet and evidently hit it so flush that there was blood all over the front of his jersey. Bellinger, yesterday, it was reported, fractured eye socket, septum, may require surgery, and day ball, and this quote right here, in its simplicity, is so very football. The eye didn't look good.
He's day-to-day.
Questionable for Sunday.
He's got one good eye left.
I mean, a
What's he
hockey
need?
player would have went right back in.
Yeah, hockey's nuts that way.
Yeah.
What do you imagine that eye looked like?
Well, it was swollen shut almost instantly. A mangled mess. I could barely make it through you describing what had happened. My fingers got all tingly. Gave me the heebie-jeebies.
What is happening behind those face masks when these human beings are in pain? He needed a cart. Again, Stugotz, all I saw was a hand going into his helmet. And keep in mind, that Ravens-Browns game, Koromora just punched at a football, just came running, and it was one of these flying, these wrestling flying punches. There was no effort at making a tackle, and it was a beautiful play, beautiful play. He just came running in and punched the football as hard as he could. But I didn't even think that could happen to a human eye in a football game. I'm simply, I know many of you are tired of hearing me talk about the violence of the game, but as these people keep getting bigger and stronger and faster and everything, and they keep taking hits that don't look that bad to me as somebody who's been watching football, and then the next thing you know, their whole face explodes because somebody's finger was in their face mask, because the one part of their head that's not protected allowed a finger in.
How about a visor? I mean, that's what they're made for.
That's right.
That's what will probably happen going forward. I'm imagining Bellinger will be out there this Sunday wearing a visor.
I can understand how he entered that game not wearing a visor, thinking that wouldn't happen to him.
Right, it's never happened. Yes.
Well, I haven't seen it happen, but would you have been that surprised if at the end of that particular event there had been an eyeball on the field?
After what you described, what happened? No. I hope he's okay. I hope I'm okay after hearing all this.
Do we know if the eyeball is still intact? Do we know? Like,
I know Brian Daboll was offered illuminating analysis when he said, "Yeah, it didn't look good."
Right.
I also enjoyed that immediately after the game, he was seen smoking cigars with fans. It's just like, oh yeah, that's going on over there.
Classic Dibs.
I'm gonna hang out and celebrate the 6-1 with you guys.
Hell of a culture.
Yeah.
Chris Cote, did I see you trying to mouth Brian Eyeball?
Yes, you did.
For years now, Stugotz, you have been around here shouting. It is one thing outside of sports that you care about. Why aren't the media entities, why aren't people broadcasting more that an asteroid is headed toward Earth? All the time there's an asteroid headed toward Earth, you'll pick it up in some strange place on the internet or in the news, and you'll come in here shouting, shouldn't somebody be doing something about this? Well, our show somehow, and this was, we haven't had a lot of bigger failures than this one. We did not report extensively on the fact, because you have asked before, what are we going to do if one of these keeps coming toward us?
Right.
We now have the science that we just shoot shit up there and knock it off course when we want to because we're big bad humans, and the only byproduct is that it leaves an actual 6,000 miles of debris.
Worth it. That's right, asteroids. We're punching you in the dick now. USA. Oh, the universe thought they had it figured out. No, 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 no. USA all the way. USA all the way. USA all the way. USA all the way. Can you imagine being a loser, pathetic dinosaur? Where, oh no, there's an asteroid coming. I can't do shit about it. I'm dead. Ha ha. No, now we're punching you straight in the cock because we got a DART program. And the coolest part about the NASA DART project is when you Google it, a little dart comes across the screen and it punches something in the dick. And it shakes your screen.
All right.
Oh, we're going to live forever, Dan. No, nothing's going to stop us now except us. And that's the way it should be.
Is there like a global or like a intergalactic safety car that comes out when there's 6,000 miles of debris, like in a Formula One race?
Not our problem. Eat that, Venus.
But what if like it blows up the asteroid, and now there's 4 asteroids headed towards us?
Right. Now we have 4 darts punching 4 dicks simultaneously.
Are you certain we could do that? I mean,
yeah, man.
You know all about this dart system?
Dude, it's nothing now.
Wait, you know that if we send one dart up and it splits into 4 asteroids, that we could send 4 more darts
4 more darts.
But then we would have 16 asteroids.
How many light years is this thing away? Not my problem. Venus's problem now.
Billy, I'm enjoying the idea of you as a solution maker who works in the space program, shooting 1 and making 2, shooting 2 and making 4, and now you're alarmed because you've created 16 asteroids, all of them trailing 6,000 miles of debris.
Yeah, I mean, you have 1 problem, but now you've created 16 problems.
Yeah.
Like, and also,
seems like NASA needs to get back to work on
time
this.
for 16 problems being solved. 16 more darts.
But have you guys ever played billiards, pool, as some people call it? Sometimes, like, you hit the ball and it ricochets in a direction you're not expecting. So, like, what if this thing was going to miss us by, like, 8,000 miles, and now we ricocheted towards us?
These NASA people are good pool players, though. They know how to hit the white ball so that the white ball goes exactly where they want it.
Pretty sure NASA thought this one out.
Apollo 13.
I think they spent several years thinking this one out. Not our problem anymore. I don't care about 6,000 miles of little tiny rocks that aren't going to hit us anymore because we found a way to preserve life on this planet. Life that we will inevitably extinguish on our own through not changing any of our routines.
How American is the solution? There is a thing that could threaten our livelihood. Let's shoot it in the dick!
What do you want to talk it out with it? What do you want to have a nice conversation with the thing?
It is the way Witty would do it.
You don't,
Please don't hit us.
An asteroid coming to
hang a Louie.
An asteroid coming to kill everybody. You and your family does not want to be diplomatic. It doesn't. It cares not for you and your little white picket fence. It wants to crush you. You're standing in its way. So what do you do when you encounter someone like that? You punch them in the dick. You dart them right in the coccyx.
Billy, I imagine you as 6,000 miles of debris are flying over us or toward us or around us in an indiscriminate, randomly chosen location. You peacefully just washing dishes as a meditative exercise over your sink. Am I wrong to think that you like washing dishes?
I like washing dishes. You guys like washing dishes?
I do.
In the right setting,
dishwasher for.
Dude, it centers me sometimes.
In the right time, it's one of those, like, we have a sink across the hall. I do not want to wash dishes here. I'll tell you that right now. But like sometimes, like, yesterday I was washing dishes for like half an hour. The night before, after the post game show, I was washing dishes for like 45 minutes. Checking in on the Dolphins behind my back. But yeah.
What kind of feast did you have at your home that you were like washing dishes for 45 minutes?
Well, I mean, I have a family, so it requires more than one plate, and then you have a pan, and you have a pot, and then you have the utensils that you use, and you have family come over.
Very
and
involved.
You have, pressure cooker, depending on the meal. Like, you have different cups, and I can't be super attentive all the time and wash every dish every time I use it. So sometimes, I mean, how long does it take you to wash dishes, Mr. Perfect? Like 5 seconds? I don't understand.
I mean, 45 minutes is a long. That's like minimum 12 people that you've hosted at your house.
You're single.
You're so single.
Yeah,
You live by yourself. Exactly.
You don't understand what this is.
Get a family.
exactly right. Jeez, get some friends.
Probably have a paper plate. You throw it in the trash next to your alarm clock, and then you just move on your day.
I'm okay with doing dishes. It's putting the clean dishes away. That's what I don't like. I
Oh,
don't
I
like
love
putting
that.
clean dishes away.
That's my favorite time of the day.
They'll sit in that dry rack for like 3 weeks. I'll just get my cups out of the dry rack.
I love unloading a dishwasher.
Oh.
I synchronize it to music. You
don't.
I unload in time with the music.
You have housekeepers.
I unload my own dishwasher because my wife won't do it. It'll sit loaded for weeks if I don't do it. But the key is you take 2 things out at a time, never 1 and never 3. You take 2 plates, you put them where they should be. You take 2 pieces of silverware, you put it in the drawer. And music is playing. It's my favorite time of the day.
That's married life. It'll sit loaded for 2 weeks if I don't do it.
That's right.
Do what you got to do.
We all have our resentments.
Do you put your dishes in the dishwasher when you use the dishwasher? Do you put your dishes in the dishwasher like by section, so it's like the same, like pairs of plates and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Because I'll do plates that are like the same size, and then I'll try to grab 3 in between my fingies.
Oh,
I'll go
wow.
down there and I'll grab the 3, and then it's automatically a stack. I just turn it. It's a stack. Boom, right on the shelf.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm a 2 man. I never
Really?
Not
Go
a
for
3
3, man.
but-
Challenge yourself. Some people said we can't shoot asteroids out of the sky. Other people say I can't grab 3 dishes at a time.
true.
You can do
Target.
it.
Yeah.
Try it.
Stugotz just said in my headphones, "Hey, have you Googled NASA DART project? You should do that and see what happens."
It was an
What's funny about that?
It was an
in-ear Steve Martin.
I don't think you said it. I got to be honest. with you.
Do it. He was like rocking my
The whole
world.
The whole
segment
page is
began.
off kilter. I mean,
When's the last time you cleaned your dishwasher filter, though, Greg?
Oh yeah, that's one that the
that's
internet
been a
has
while.
taught a lot of people. There's a viral TikTok of showing the gunk that's in people's dishwasher. I actually broke my dishwasher trying to find the filter. I still haven't found the filter. I just broke my dishwasher and had to buy a replacement part and fix it because there is like somewhere at the bottom a filter that is apparently filled with shit.
Yeah, right
That
next
is
to the
ruining
bottom
your
blade.
dishwasher's
Yeah.
ability to clean dishes.
Yeah.
Why are you even using your dishwasher, man? You got 1 plate. Just hand wash it.
yep.
I don't want to leave quite so quickly from what just happened. There are huge swaths of show that Stugotz is sitting right next to all of us, not absorbing.
Yeah. It's hot in here, man. I mean, it really is. Greg is sweating.
Yeah.
I mean, these are terrible
I'm
working
feeling my
conditions.
armpits.
Who among us makes the greatest of the cartoon kitchens when preparing a meal? Because I didn't know whether to choose Billy or Cote, because I imagine that Cote would be making a lot of different things and a lot of sauces, and you're going to end up with just a whole lot of dirty utensils all over the kitchen because you've prepared your meal with care. But it can get messy. Those things are hard. It's very hard to cook a well-prepared meal with a lot of ingredients, a lot of sauces that you're making things and not having a bunch of dirty dishes.
My behavior has changed because we had HelloFresh as a sponsor a while back, and I really liked that meal delivery service, so I kept with it. And now I taste the difference. So every meal that I home cook, whether it's from a delivery service or a recipe that I borrowed from somewhere, I got really into it. And now it's fresh everything. Everything's from scratch. So cleaning the kitchen after cooking is not the greatest of experiences because it's a lot.
Also, you guys had to go at me for not hand washing dishes. I've heard that it is more energy and water efficient to put 6 dishes or cups in the dishwasher than hand wash them.
That's big dishwasher telling you what to think.
I'm doing the same thing with the meal delivery service, and I got the family package. So it just came in a whole box unorganized. So I had to organize the thing, put it in the refrigerator in Ziploc bags, take it out. It's a whole bunch of stuff on the counter using the knife and whatnot.
It's a pain in the ass.
It's a pain in the ass. It's just too much stuff on the counter
Sounds
and
like
on
a
the
real
stove.
suffering, all that free food you got, Roy.
No. We're paying for this one, so definitely not free.
You love the free food around
Oh,
here.
you're goddamn right I do, man. It's so awesome, man. I love
In
it.
defense of
Everybody
Roy,
likes
who doesn't love free food? I
Exactly.
mean,
You have to. Yeah,
Billy, 45 minutes does sound like a fairly extraordinary amount of time to spend washing dishes, though.
Well,
does
what's
it
the
not?
right amount of time? I don't know what to tell you guys. How do I do it?
I've just
You-
never
15?
heard. I've never heard of somebody unless you were
I'm
having.
washing them by hand and not putting everything in the dishwasher. You know, I have little forks and little spoons. Try to feed a baby. Use like 6 spoons and forks per feeding. I have to do that. Then I have to do all the bottles for the next day.
Oh, man.
And then I have
this
to
is
do
a
the pots
bottle
and
thing,
pans,
though.
and then I have to
This is
plate.
a bottle.
This
This is
wise
a
guy over here is like,
different
oh, save 6 plates at a time. Well, guess what, buddy? When you have a family, you're not a lonesome lone wolf over here.
Exactly.
6 plates at a time is 30 plates for
Damn
normal
right.
people.
These bottles, there's like 17 pieces to this one bottle. And
It's
I gotta
it's-
clean every crevice of it.
And then I'm trying to figure out, like, do I really need to take it all the way apart this time? Like, I'm going to use this in an hour.
When did bottles get so sophisticated?
Get over yourself.
When I was
Bobby.
growing
get
up,
over
it was
yourself,
there was
bottles.
2 parts to a bottle.
Yeah.
The actual body of the bottle and the nipple. What are we doing?
What are we doing? The 4 of you have kids of a certain age, and you have experienced the bottle at about the same time in your life. You have
Simple the
learned-
nipple. Simple the nipple.
The intention was, hey, babies throw this thing around a lot. They hold it upside down, and you don't want milk just going everywhere. So I appreciate that.
They're gonna learn today.
I don't appreciate that involving 5 different pieces.
I have some stats here, Dan, where it says women, they wash dishes 1.1 hours per week, and men do it 0.7 hours per week. How about that? Dishes.com.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It's just they surveyed a bunch of people, and that's what they said. That's how much time they spend washing the dishes every single week.
0.7 hours a week is less than 45 minutes, and I do it like 45 minutes per,
But you
good
throw in
go-round.
bottles.
Well,
That's
once a week,
The,
I
the
mean.
bottles make it an entirely different experience once you throw in the preparation of the bottles. Now it's an exercise in endurance.
I'm telling you, the kids, you don't really realize how much time it just adds to your day.
And how little they bring to the table.
They bring nothing to the table. Nothing to the table. In fact,
Net
you have to
loss
bring the
for such a
table
long
physically
time.
to them.
Yeah.
It is so inconvenient.
Then they flip the table, they kick the table,
make the table
vomit
messy.
on the table.
When I wanted to go to
Exactly right.
Flanagan's before, you know what I would do? I'd grab my keys, I'd hop in my car. Now there's 7 different bags you got to take. It takes
Babysitters.
35 minutes to go to Flanagan's.
Nothing lazier than an infant.
Move everything around. All of a sudden, you can't leave knives everywhere like I'm used to.
Dealing with a booster seat and seat belts.
Ugh.
It's just ridiculous, man.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at LeBatard Show. Is there anything lazier than an infant?